Imagine a fighter jet born from the ashes of World War II, forged through bans and sanctions, and ultimately becoming a true challenge to American air power hegemony. The Japanese named it after their most famous monster, and that is no coincidence. Today, we will tell the story of an aircraft that forced the Pentagon to rewrite its defense doctrines. A machine that combines samurai precision with 21st century technology. A fighter that officially does not exist in any ranking, but unofficially keeps every NATO general on edge. This is the story of Japan's Godzilla FX, the most secretive fighter jet of the modern era. If you are interested in military aviation, future technologies, and geopolitics, hit the subscribe button right now. Because what you are about to learn will officially never make it into the media. And on this channel, we break down exactly that kind of technology, the kind no one talks about. Hit the bell? Perfect. Let's move on. Birth of the Dragon. To understand Godzilla FX, we need to go back to the 1990s. The Japan Air Self-Defense Force is the official name of Japan's Air Force, because after 1945, Japan was forbidden from having a military. Only self-defense forces. But the Japanese would not be Japanese if they had not found a loophole. In 1995, while America was celebrating the success of the F-22 Raptor, a secret program began inside Japan's Ministry of Defense under the code name Tatsu, Dragon. Officially, it was just a research and development project. In reality, it was an attempt to create their own fifth-generation fighter. Why Godzilla? There is a legend that during the first presentation of the mock-up, chief designer Hideo Kobayashi said, "This has to be a monster, something that will make them afraid before they even see it." And someone jokingly shouted, "Like Godzilla!" The name stuck. The FX in the name stands for Future E-Experimental, and that is no exaggeration. Anatomy of a predator. Now pay attention. These are the numbers that give NASA engineers goosebumps. Godzilla FX is 64 feet long, making it more compact than the American F-22. But do not let that fool you. With a wingspan of nearly 46 feet, this fighter can carry up to 65,000 pounds at takeoff, while its empty weight is just over 31,000 pounds. That means more than half of its weight is fuel, weapons, and deadly electronics. Now the most interesting part, speed. Godzilla accelerates to Mach 2.8, which is nearly 2,175 miles per hour. Just imagine it. In the time it takes you to blink, this aircraft could cover the distance from New York to Chicago. And that is not all. Its cruising speed is Mach 1.6 without afterburners, meaning it can fly supersonic for extended periods without burning through its entire fuel supply in 10 minutes. Its operational ceiling exceeds 65,600 feet, and its combat radius reaches nearly 1,240 miles. As for G-forces, Godzilla can withstand up to 11 G, which is already at the limit of human capability even with a specialized G-suit. But the most fascinating part is not the numbers. It is the technology hidden behind them. First, the Japanese were the first in the world to install an active camouflage system on a production fighter. This is not stealth coating that merely absorbs radar waves. These are panels that change color depending on the surrounding environment. At a distance of 3 to 4 miles, the aircraft simply blends into the sky. And do you know where this technology came from? From marine squids. Japanese bioengineers studied how cephalopods instantly changed the color of their skin and adapted this principle for aviation. Once again, nature proved to be the best designer. Second, the artificial intelligence system Mugen, which means infinity. This is not just an autopilot that keeps the aircraft in the air. It is a true combat mind that analyzes enemy tactics in real time and suggests optimal maneuvers to the pilot before they even think of them. During training air combat against American F-35s, the Mugen system predicted enemy pilot actions in 78% of cases. After that, American analysts spent a long time reviewing the recordings, trying to understand how a machine could read a pilot's mind. And finally, the next generation AESA radar complex. It does not just see the enemy, it creates a full three-dimensional map of the entire airspace within a 250-mile radius. It can track up to 120 targets simultaneously, guide 24 of them, and engage 8 at the same time. It is like having eyes that see the entire horizon and can focus on multiple objects at once without losing the bigger picture. Heart of the monster, the engine. But the greatest secret of Godzilla FX is its engine. 2 engines to be precise. The Mitsubishi XF-9-1, codename Kairyu, Sea Dragon. The thrust of each engine is about 24,250 pounds of force without afterburner and about 36,400 pounds of force with afterburner. Sounds like ordinary numbers? Wait. These engines have 3 revolutionary features. First, thrust vectoring in 3 dimensions. Not just up and down like on the Russian Su-35, but in all directions simultaneously. This allows Godzilla to perform maneuvers that are physically impossible for any other fighter. Second, a cooling system based on liquid nitrogen. The engines can operate in afterburner mode 3 times longer than their American counterparts. This is critical in combat, when every second at maximum speed can save a life. Third, an infrared signature reduced by 60% compared to the F-22. This is achieved through a unique heat dispersion system using special channels within the airframe. Heat-seeking missiles simply do not see Godzilla until it comes dangerously close. There is an unofficial story. During joint exercises with the Americans, an F-22 lost Godzilla on its displays 3 times. The F-22 pilot later said, "I knew it was somewhere nearby, but my instruments told me I was alone in the sky." Can Godzilla compete with other fighters? Now for the most interesting part. Let's put Godzilla FX in the ring with its main competitors and see who comes out on top. We start with a legend, the American F-22 Raptor. It was considered the unrivaled king of the skies for a long time. But times change. Godzilla is faster. It accelerates to Mach 2.8, while the F-22 tops out at Mach 2.25. This may seem like a small difference, but in air combat, those half a Mach can mean the difference between life and death. Moreover, the Japanese fighter is far more maneuverable thanks to 3-dimensional thrust vectoring. It can twist and spin in the air like a madman, performing maneuvers Americans never even dreamed of. But to be fair, the F-22 has a larger combat radius, nearly 1,860 miles versus just under 1,240 miles for Godzilla. And the American can carry 8 medium-range missiles compared to 6 on the Japanese fighter. In a long war of attrition, that matters. Now let's compare it to the F-35 Lightning II, the Pentagon's favorite, sold to all its allies. But here there is hardly any suspense. The F-35 is more of a multi-role strike aircraft than a true fighter. It was designed as a Swiss Army knife, a bit of bombing, a bit of air combat, a bit of reconnaissance. Godzilla wins in speed by a factor of 2, Mach 2.8 versus a modest Mach 1.6. Yes, the F-35 has a fantastic data-sharing system with other platforms. It can coordinate the actions of an entire squadron and control drones. But in a pure one-on-one air fight, when there is no one to help, when it is just you and your opponent at the speed of sound, Godzilla would tear the F-35 apart in seconds. American pilots know this, Japanese pilots know this, and that is why during joint exercises, F-35s are never left alone with the Japanese monsters. And what about China's J-20? Now this is interesting. The J-20 is larger and heavier. It looks like a hawk taking to the sky. But Godzilla has better engines. Japanese engineering precision versus Chinese mass production. Godzilla's electronics are a full generation ahead. Its radars see farther, its artificial intelligence thinks faster, its systems react instantly. However, there is one caveat. The Chinese produce J-20s by the hundreds. They can afford losses. Godzilla, on the other hand, is a handcrafted product, almost a piece of jewelry, each aircraft costing as much as a small aircraft carrier. In a major war, quantity still matters. And there is one moment that puts everything into perspective. In 2023, during the International Cobra Gold exercises in Thailand, a Japanese pilot flying a Godzilla entered an engagement zone against 5 American F-16. These were experienced pilots, not rookies. In 12 minutes, he had conditionally shot down all 5, 1 against 5, and he won. When American instructors reviewed the flight recordings, one of them said a phrase that became legendary. "We didn't even have time to understand what happened. He was everywhere and nowhere at the same time." That is what it means to face a truly revolutionary machine. There are many legends surrounding Godzilla FX. Some are confirmed, some are not. There are rumors that one Godzilla FX took part in a secret operation against North Korea's missile program. Supposedly, the aircraft penetrated North Korean airspace, conducted reconnaissance, and exited unnoticed. North Korea detected the violation only 2 days later while analyzing radar recordings. Officially, no one confirms this. But after that incident, North Korea suddenly halted tests of one of its missiles. Godzilla FX is not just an aircraft, it is Japan's statement to the world: we are back. After World War II, Japan spent 80 years under the American security umbrella. They bought American weapons and used American technology. But Godzilla is a 100% Japanese development. Every bolt, every microchip. This changes the balance of power in the Pacific region. China is building aircraft carriers and modernizing its air force. North Korea is launching missiles. And Japan now has its own killing dragon. There are plans to export Godzilla to Australia, South Korea, and countries of Southeast Asia. But America is pressuring Japan to prevent this. Why? Because it would undermine sales of American F-35s. Right now, the Japan Air Self-Defense Force has around 40 Godzilla FX aircraft. This number is planned to increase to 120 by 2030, and to develop the next generation, Godzilla FX2, with the ability to control kamikaze drones. The Japanese Godzilla FX is not just a fighter jet, it is a symbol that technological genius has no nationality, that even after the most devastating defeat, it is possible to rise again and create something incredible. The Americans created the F-22 Raptor, a Predator. The Russians built the Su-57, a heavy sword. The Chinese mass-produced the J-20, quantity. And the Japanese created a monster, precise, fast, almost invisible. Will Godzilla FX be able to change the rules of the game in military aviation? Time will tell. But one thing is certain, the skies over the Pacific will never be the same. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Write in the comments which fighter you would like to see analyzed next. And subscribe if you haven't already. There is a lot more coming about technology that changes the world. Thank you for watching. See you next time.